Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Rhyme of the Times for the week ending the 29th of July 2023. Holiday dismay as tourists run for the bay, as fires can't be kept at bay. No play on Sunday as rain washes the ashes away. Farage has his say. 3 icons pass away. Barbenheimer provides a much-needed payday. All roads were leading to the beach for tourists and locals trying to get out of reach of the flames that had engulfed many square miles of one of Greece's most enchanting isles. From their hotels and homes, thousands had fled to the sanctuary of the glistening Med. Dream holidays for people from colder nations transformed into warlike evacuations. Elsewhere there was the most wild weather ever seen as the planet became hotter than it's ever been, prompting the UN Secretary General to claim global boiling is now here and humans are to blame. But human efforts to turn off the kettle always seem to get the NIMBYs unsettled. But they lost their ULEZ expansion battle this week as the courts came down on the side of Sadiq. Life still goes on even while our earth burns. The weather denied Ben Stokes what he yearns. On Sunday the Australians kept the Ashes urn, but a Manchester monsoon meant it wasn't earned. Not a single ball was bowled, and so that was curtains, with a massive England win looking near certain. Half the country probably doesn't give two hoots about the squabble between Nigel Farage and Coots, but he claimed he was standing up for the ordinary bloke by calling out Coots for being so woke. By the end of the week, two senior bosses had resigned, admitting that the bank's values hadn't aligned with those of Farage, which is the real reason why they had shut down his account and told him goodbye. It wasn't because, as they had told the BBC, that the former UKIP chief had a cash deficiency. It seems Coots were concerned about their reputation. It had nothing to do with financial computations. The start of the week was tinged with much grief. 3 British icons died, their lifetimes too brief. Trevor Francis was the first player worth £1 million, sparking soccer's transfer spiral that has known no bounds. And on Monday, the sad news of the death of Trevor came during talk of the biggest transfer fee ever. The great Francis cost £1 million just before the 80s. Now $250 million will buy France's greatest. Al Hilal want Mbappe for about 250 million, so 250 Trevors add up to 1 Killian. Such comparisons are futile at the end of the day, and Mbappe isn't leaving PSG anyway. Comparing their talents, though, is very fair, and Francis from a young age showed Killian's flair. In 1970 he entered Birmingham City's Pantheon of Fame, their first 16-year-old to score 4 goals in one game. He spoke eloquently with his mouth and his feet. Like Mbappe, he could get people out of their seat. A glittering international and domestic career founded on skill and playing without fear. He had so many things for which he could brag, not least his £1 million price tag. But he was a soft-spoken, unassuming fella, whose life ended at 69 at his home in Marbella. Another master of his craft and a really nice guy who died far too young on the 24th of July is George Alagaya, a superb broadcaster who started out reporting on wars and disasters. As a developing world reporter, he gained a reputation for really getting to the heart of each situation. But most know him from BBC's News at 6, which he presented until cancer made him too sick. Sinead O'Connor's life was often troubled, searching for peace with mental health struggles. her vulnerability evident in every note sung, every drop of emotion from each song rung. On Saturday Night Live, she looked into the camera and shredded a photo of the Pope in anger. She had looked the whole world in the eye. Fight the real enemy, her battle cry. Much of the Catholic world turned their back on what they saw as a blasphemous attack. But populism was never what Sinead was about. Fame afforded her the platform to get her views out. And that 1992 message that she sent for the Catholic Church turned out quite prescient. Her singing career could have been so much bigger if she hadn't crusaded with so much vigour. One of her 4 children committed suicide, and on Wednesday at 56 she also died. For the millions you inspired, even those you dishonoured, nothing compares to you, Sinead O'Connor. A famous US actor on Wednesday cried in court as he was cleared of 9 charges of sexual assault. Kevin Spacey may have acted a little bit racy, but to the jury there was no crime prima facie. The Blonde Bombshell and the Bomb from Hell, an unlikely double-header that went down well. Barbie and Oppenheimer was the only show in town, a boost to an industry that's been ground down. Barbenheimer filled cinemas throughout the UK. It's been 4 years since such a weekend payday. Streaming sites had cinemas in their sites, and then COVID added to the cinematic plight. For movie house owners and cinema bosses, it became a horror show of closures and losses. But Oppenheimer made a bomb to help them come back, and Barbie has them in the pink and in the black. Maybe the cinemas are finally back on a soundtrack.